Right, welcome back, sorry. So, today's my first day going live since losing my job, and I would say I'm in good spirits, you know. Um, it's crucial that we purge these emotions that we feel so strongly. Um, I didn't know what emotion was going to come out when I came live on, that day. I didn't know I was going to cry on video. I didn't plan for it, nor did I try and prevent it. Like I say, it's all divine. Every emotion is divine, the good, the bad, the ugly, right? It's learning to embrace and enjoy the ride no matter what. So it's like, yes, I was crying. Yes, I'm upset that I've lost my job. But deep down, what grounds me, what makes me okay, is knowing who I am to my core, ultimately. And it sounds funny, but that is always my grounding point because it doesn't matter how low I can get knocked down. It doesn't matter what is taken from me in my life. Because ultimately, awakening is getting you back into a love affair, a synonymous union with life itself. So that when chaos does erupt, when chaos does come knocking at your door, you're able to purge those emotions, but ultimately remain grounded in your core of who you are. Many of us try and suppress the anger, suppress the sadness, the whatever emotion it is that we don't like. But instead of suppressing these emotions, we should be feeling them, purging them, getting them out. And obviously, in a healthy way, because there's many ways to express anger. But the important part is purging these emotions without doing any harm to yourself, to others, but releasing them. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be confused. Whatever you're feeling, it's not wrong. It's all the divine. Even if you don't know, even if you're unsure about what you think you should be doing, or about what's coming next, always remain grounded in trust, trusting that you are the plan. You have a plan. Who we think we are always wants certain things to go in accordance to our way. But we must remember we've dedicated our entire lives to this ego, this entity that ultimately does not exist. I just want to take this time to again say thank you though to everybody who has been here to support me, for everyone who has commented words of love, of encouragement, of support, of understanding, just allowing me this space to be vulnerable with myself, and just knowing that I have such a loving community behind me supporting what I do. It means more than I can express. So thank you to everyone. And to those who made donations, thank you very much too. Again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And I will continue to accept donations. My Cash App is in the description. It's Singularity010. If you're able to, if you feel called to do so. But if not, I just want these videos to keep reaching people, keep touching people's hearts, keep helping people. Help bring clarity, bring peace, bring understanding, soften the anger in people's hearts. I can tell you, if this situation had happened to me, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, maybe, I don't know what I would have done. I probably wouldn't have handled it so well. And just being in that unconscious state, it literally makes you a threat to yourself. And what I mean is, you're not even in control of your own self. Situations, people, things can happen that instantly make you lose control of yourself. The most important thing is always being in control, being grounded of who you are. Not responding to the unconscious. You can only help those who want to be helped too, because some people have said, if love is the answer, what am I supposed to do? Just love everyone and take the abuse? If they keep berating you and, verbally abusing you, what do you do? Well, I just lost my job over this very circumstance. I attempted to help this lady as far as she was willing to let me help. She approached me already screaming at me. So I attempted to say, ma'am, me and this gentleman here work here. We can help you out. How can we assist you? How can we help you? She responded by screaming at me again, what makes you think I don't know you work here? And then went on another whole nother tangent about something else, whatever. Right when I saw she was at the moment of me not being able to de-escalate, to speak to her from my heart. I said, I apologize. I said, have a nice day, ma'am. And I walked away. I didn't respond to the unconsciousness, nor did I take the abuse. But I didn't have to become hostile with her. I didn't have to grip the situation and force it to my will. The most important thing I could do in that moment was remain in control of myself. And even though I was fired over this situation, if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't change how I responded, because that's just it. I didn't respond to the unconscious words of this woman. I can promise you, if she would have done that to 9 out of 10 of the people that work in my building, there would have been a verbal response. There would have been probably some profanity. There would have been something said that couldn't have been taken back. So the fact that I was fired, that I was punished ultimately for walking away, for removing myself, not responding to this situation, ultimately just shows me that it was my time to leave, to part ways with this company. Their best interest is, of course, the customer. They come first. We come last. Even though we influence your sales, we influence your profits, we influence everything that makes you money. But they will always take the people, the consumers, who are spending that money side over yours. But it goes back to, who are you? Is your heart good or is it bad? Just because I was punished for doing what I thought was good, will that make me change my good heart and go out the next time I have a job and someone responds to me that way? Will I react in anger? Will I respond in anger because I know it doesn't matter anyway? As I said, I wouldn't change my heart because I know my heart is pure. One thing that I know is it truly doesn't matter. This job, deep down, I know it doesn't matter. The tears that were shed were simply the mourning process of a routine, of a big part of my life, 10 years. Mourning that routine, mourning that piece of my life being removed. But I know ultimately, after those tears are shed, the job doesn't matter. Ultimately, none of this matters. And what I mean is the systematic society that we have been programmed and reduced to exist and think through. This is how we begin taking things too serious. This is how we begin being too hard on ourselves. See, people are not the problem. It is this system. We've become so reliant and so familiar with these man-made systems that we've forgotten the true system. We've fallen out of alignment with the true system and put ourselves into our own misery of this false system, which has us scrambling day after day to barely get by and still not have enough, which has us consuming things we don't need to impress people we don't know, which has us chasing our own tails in this pursuit of ideas of happiness through materials which ultimately are not going to change or transform our lives or our situation. The biggest distraction that dangles before the people is this grand pursuit of happiness. The way out is in, is right within you. The true system that drives the stars, the moon, the sun is right within us. But this false man-made system has us feeling stranger to this place, foreign to this place, like we have no idea what this is. When truthfully, we are the entirety. But we're attempting to study and understand this entirety from a separate microscopic vantage point, which is simply this little dot trying to view the entirety. And you're trying to filter in the entirety through this little dot of information you have of yourself. The only thing that makes you yourself is a bunch of compiled thoughts that we attach to a file, a memory. And over time, we begin attaching more and more things to that file, that memory, until that file becomes your very identity, your ego. And when they tell you that the ego doesn't exist, this is why, because the ego is simply just a bunch of compiled memories into one singular file. Do you believe that when you allow yourself to receive, you will? Yes and no. It depends on the degree we're talking here. Allowing yourself to receive depends on the degree we're talking about. Let's say, here's a microscopic idea, right, of receiving. Let's say I'm hard-headed. I hate people's help. I won't do it. I won't accept your help. I won't accept anyone's help. But allowing myself room to open up and begin to receive help, right? That's a microscopic idea of me influencing what I'm receiving. And then you have this macrocosmic idea where this is half of the spiritual community, basically, where they're telling you the only blockage from you and money is yourself. You're not doing something right. So then they tell you, subscribe to their coach, subscribe to their coaching class, or to this class, or to this class, and they'll show you how to begin receiving an abundance of money, manifesting an abundance of this, and receiving things that just magically begin to attract to you like a magnet. One is realistic and can happen. The other is us convincing ourselves of finding a black cat in a dark room. The mind is a very powerful thing. The mind is everything. So this isn't to say that things aren't actually there. The mind is that powerful that if we convince ourselves we're doing something or we're seeing something, then you are. And that's why the only form of real mind control is when you give up your control of the mind. When you allow someone else, or you believe that someone else, a system, a corporation, is in control of your mind, you have just granted them that control. Because whatever you believe is what reality is. That's why reality is subjective. But that is the only form of mind control. You are what's behind the curtain. You are what's enslaving yourself as this separate entity. It is this separate entity that you become that is enslaving itself through its polar opposite, the government, they, Satan, whoever they are. They, them is always your face at the end of the tunnel. Only you don't know that these two opposites share the same polarity point, which is you. The fixed point in the center is just yourself. The two polar opposites, your conscious and subconscious mind, is your two sides of your brain where you live out two separate characters each and every day and do not realize it, but you put one side against the other. And that's why you have the system versus the people. The true system is not out there. It's not versus the people. It's the people versus themselves. The system is here. But when we remain unconscious of that, we fall for the system being out there. And now you are the enemy. You are my enemy. Because you will also pick a side, this side or that side, Israel, Palestine. And while both have great intentions, while both obviously think they're doing the right thing, the two are not allowing themselves to realize. You are looking through the same polarity point of consciousness, making you the very same observer. But remember, your ego, that compiled file of memories that makes you yourself, will tell you, you're not the same. We are not one and the same. How dare you? Because my side wants this side to prevail that's being murdered, genocided, however the case. Your side sees it completely opposite. Our side is doing all the genocide while your side is the victim. And on my side, we are being genocided. You are not the victim. We are. At what point do we establish a common ground and realize you are looking and experiencing through the very same fixed point, making you the very same observer? But it's our ego, our separateness, that we fight to defend and hold on to until the very last moment, that tells ourselves, that points out all the differences. that creates all these differences, but truly they don't exist. Because all these differences are just thoughts, ideas coming out of consciousness. And what is everything? Everything is consciousness. Cannot be created nor destroyed, which is why you have no beginning and no end point. And if you have no end point, you have no starting point. So why are we still asking what came first? The black or the white, the chicken or the egg? There's no sequential order. If you have no ending, you have no beginning. The only thing that has begun is the false misconception of who we have assumed ourselves to be. That is the only place where a beginning is taking place, is in the mind. And likewise, on your time of death, the only place death takes place is in your mind. This entire separate character that you have existed, lived, and suffered through your entire life is what dies, is what ends. That whole memory you have of yourself ends, and it returns to consciousness. Consciousness is pure. It is source. It is the I am presence that the Bibles talk about. When God's name is I am, it simply means it is presence, it is awareness, it is consciousness. Before you have I am Tyler, I am human, I am here, I am there, you simply have I am presence, the presence that establishes the who, the what, the where, the why, and the how. But make no mistake, each and every one of us is that presence which is not moving or traveling beyond itself. It's what becomes of us out of this presence that separates us. But there's a reason all of us find our way back home. There's a reason so many of us who have awakened through death all tell a similar story. We're all one. We're the same person. We don't die and go somewhere. We're here. And the reason we're here the whole time is because we are not birthing or dying. We are not the individual that we are assuming ourselves to be. And it's a bitter pill to swallow, because in accepting and shedding the loss of the ego, you're mourning the loss of what you thought to be yourself, but in doing so, you're making room to embrace all that you have never even met of yourself, which grants you new eyes. When you awaken, it doesn't turn the world into some dark conspiracy where the skies are gloomy and everywhere I look, I'm being poisoned, I'm being threatened, I'm being attempted to be killed. That's not an awakening. But if you ask a majority of people in spirituality if they've awakened, they say yes. Ask them, what is awakening? What is awakening to you? Well, I know the government's trying to kill me. I know who's behind all this. I know who's behind this war. I know who's doing this. I know who's putting the chemicals in our food, and who's modifying the genetics in our genes, and who's trying to make the male into the female and the male into the It's a bunch of mind games, a bunch of stories for the ego. And what these stories are telling the ego is there's a threat here. There's something threatening me here. There's something that's not right here. But in investigating, in looking beyond that curtain, you do not become victim and stay this victim of they're trying to do this to me, they're poisoning the air, they're tampering the food, and you get the point. It's not them. The more conscious you become of yourself and the more you uncover who you are here, the more you will realize that you are the it. You are they. All is one simply means that we are all connected through this presence, this consciousness. We are all the same observer. This is why global corporations worship a singular I. The all-seeing I represents our singular consciousness, which they already know is. So many people are trying to figure out the secrets to the governments, and why are all United States presidents related? And it's because we tell ourselves they are the billionaires, they are the string pullers, they know something that we do not. The only thing that they know is omnia ab uno, all from one. Order is not our true nature. Chaos is, which is why they embrace that chaos. Why are all presidents and government officials related? Because they keep it in the family. They keep these positions of power in their family. Why? Because they know the big secret. You are not birthing and you are not dying. It doesn't matter if you birth out of the womb as a female and you were a male. It is still the form of yourself here. This is the big secret of the Freemasons, of the Rosicrucians, of all of these grand lodges that have gone into occult. The reason they've turned to occult knowledge is because people have rejected this. People have made them crazy, deemed them crazy. And so now they have turned into secret societies. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. Charlie Brown, thank you. I'm semi new to the whole YouTube payment and things like that, so bear with me. Like I said, I've never liked accepting payments on here. I'm starting to allow myself room to accept these things. Especially with, you know, what's gone on in the past week. You know, I do need the help now more than ever, but I'm trusting fully in whatever is to come. But Sam, thank you, brother. Thank you. To the other person too who donated on here. I also put my Cash App in the description too. If you have a Cash App and you feel drawn to donate, please feel free as well. But thank you, thank you. What keeps me so grounded, though, is just knowing who I am ultimately. Knowing that Tyler, this character, he will be okay. He will be okay because he recognizes himself beyond this whole, like I said, this systematic society that we have become, that we have seen as normal. We see this as normal, as chasing this pursuit of happiness, as working our whole lives away and then dying while consuming a bunch of things we don't need, nor once we get, we want. This is what we've been programmed to see as normal. This is what we've been reduced to and limited to. You're successful if you have more than enough materials, if you have more than enough money. But again, you can lose all of that and still be just fine, because the ultimate intelligence, if you will, the ultimate consciousness already has taken care of everything here. It's these false laws that we have created and gotten ourselves aligned with that is preventing us from our own sovereignty here. The longer and the more of us that don't know who we are, the more and the longer we will be willing to play this game. This superficial game of collecting this superficial money and turning it into superficial materials. But it will take enough of us to get this money, to get this material, to get these things, and then have you acquire them just to realize your level of happiness didn't increase the moment you got the car. It instantly produces dopamine. It makes you feel great. It makes you feel good. But we never think about, how long does this good feeling last? The car that you've spent your entire life to save up for. I hate to say it, but the reality of once you get that car and you sit yourself in that seat, the first week of you driving yourself to places with that car will be a magic experience, will be everything you've wanted. But after a month, after a year, that car will suddenly transform into your last car. you will realize that car is this car. And what I mean is 4 wheels, a seat, and a steering wheel. It doesn't matter what the outside looks like. 4 wheels, a seat, and a steering wheel. And when you look at things in that aspect, you start to question, why on God's earth would I pay $300,000 for 4 wheels, a seat, and a steering wheel, when I can pay $20,000 for 4 wheels, a seat, and a steering wheel? Take this and apply it to clothing, to name brands. The shoes are great. We love them because we've projected a value into them that isn't actually there. No one is actually seeing the value you've projected into this belt, these shoes, these things that we acquire. The only one that's seeing the value in them is ourselves, the ones who projected the value into them. This is why reality is subjective. No one is seeing the version of you that you display to the world but you. The world will only see this version that you're displaying to the world in accordance to themselves. But ultimately, why would we spend $300 on shoes versus $25? To put it in simple terms, if you woke up today and you were the last person here, no one else was around, and in your closet you had $500 pair of shoes, and right next to them you also had $20 pair of shoes. If you were the last person here with no one to see you, would you care which pair you just put on? And my point is the reason we're so willing to consume these materials that are meaningless is for the recognition of other people. We have projected our value, the true wealth, into these shoes, into this belt, into this car, into whatever that item is. And we've told ourselves that is what value is. That's what wealth is. So we'll willingly spend our last dollar to acquire the shoes when we could have spent $20 on a pair of shoes. But we're comfortably consuming our lives away so others can see us successful in this idea of wealth that we've been sold. But the truest wealth is knowing yourself. Beyond the mirror, beyond the illusion. Name brands are what's keeping many of us stuck on consuming, on consumables, on valuables, on wealth. We've told ourselves if you don't have an abundance of money, an abundance of materials, an abundance of something, you're poor. You're not wealthy. You're not successful. Because we have been sold and fallen for this false idea of wealth, of what truly matters, of values. The most expensive currency of all is the mind itself. Because when you think about it, we established a paper currency out of paper, out of thin air. We established it. Paper. We took a piece of paper and told and convinced the world that there was value in this piece of paper. And we told ourselves this long enough until today. You fast forward to today, go out onto Wall Street and call somebody in a Ferrari and a suit broke. Call them poor. Watch what happens to you. You will look like an absolute fool. Because this is what we've accepted as materials, as wealth, as success. That is what we know. And I'm not discouraging from people from buying what they like or whatever the case may be. I always like to fast forward to the end result, the end game. So naturally so, that's all I'm doing. I'm not trying to discourage anyone from whatever they like, whatever they buy, whatever makes you happy, feel free. But I'm speaking from my experience. I could only buy and consume so much until literally everything came crashing down. That's why I love Jim Carrey's quote about he wishes people could just have everything they ever wanted, so you can see it's not actually what you want. That's just it. We already have it. We already have the prize at the end of the tunnel. We already have the happiness we're chasing through these materials. We tell ourselves if we can just work hard enough or just get the promotion or just get the next job, just get the next thing. But the truth of it is you are already in that highest state. You are already that highest being, that highest feeling. And that's just it. When we project our happiness into materials, once you acquire that material, that happiness doesn't stay with you. It leaves you after a certain while, after the material gets old, after you no longer want it or appreciate it. You no longer feel that happiness anymore. It leaves you. Because this is not a happiness that is worth striving for. The truest and the most, the only happiness we should be seeking to strive for is the one in which it cannot leave us. It cannot part ways with us. And I don't mean you're happy-go-lucky every second of the day, every single day. That would seem a little insane. But what I mean is you remain grounded in the truest and simplistic essence of your being. And so you're able to celebrate good or bad, good news or bad news. Like I said, with bad news, feelings produced won't always be good feelings. They won't always be feelings you want to feel or per se in that moment. But it's crucial when you have awakened, you know who you are, purge these emotions, feel them. And I mean that in a healthy way. Don't just go up to some random person and scream their face off and then be like, damn, whew, I feel better now. Sorry about that. But in a healthy way, purge the anger, find healthy ways to purge this anger, purge the emotion, whatever it may be. And with the good emotion, no need to hold on to it because you understand that highest state of emotion is already yours. You are in that highest state. But we identify with the doing and then the result of our doing. So when we meditate by an act of doing, it produces a result, and we identify ourselves with that good feeling. And so we tell ourselves, we are this good feeling, we are this bad feeling, and we identify with these things instead of seeing them for what they are. We attach these feelings to our identity, make them who we are. We make them a part of who we are. You know what we go through. It changes us. It hinders us. It makes us suffer. But this is why I say, don't let the world, don't let situations change you from your good heart, take you from your good heart. You know, people aren't always going to be nice to you, aren't always going to be kind to you, and they're not always going to treat you the way you're willing or the way you naturally treat them. But it's crucial that you know that you understand that, and know that it's not your fault if people are being, a certain way with you. The only thing and the best thing you can do is remain in control of yourself. I'm not even saying, you don't have to be all love and light with the person, but remain in control of yourself. And this doesn't mean that you have to sit there and take abuse from people verbally, physically, however. Love and light is not just sitting there and being abused. And that's one huge part that's neglected in the spiritual community is the dark side, the darkness. It's always love and light. All the focus is on light. All focus is on good feeling, which is why most spiritual people who are selling businesses don't get into the not so good feelings and aspects of spirituality. They keep the focus on just what you can produce that makes you feel great, that makes you feel euphoria, that makes you feel happy-go-lucky, that makes you feel magic. But never do we touch into the darkness, because it's a crucial part of anyone's spiritual journey. We'll never know the true depths of the light until we have hit the very bottom of that darkness. And some people have created the term the dark night of the soul. That's what I would refer that to. When you hit that rock bottom, only then can you experience the actual depths of likewise the light. But as all things, the two are one and the same. So when you know this, you understand this, you can celebrate and embrace the two as one. You don't try and put the darkness against the light or have the darkness overcome the light. They work in unison. They synchronize with each other because now you're not seeing them as two different things, as two functions. They're working together as one. The dark is working with the light is working with the dark. And this is something we have still not been able to do with our own reflections. With reflections of you and me and reflections of black and white. We still have not been able to bring each other into a unison to where we are into a synchronicity where we are working in unison as one. We're still falling for the veil of you're black, I'm white. You have, a different chromosome in your body than this one here. You have different this than I have this. Constantly looking at things with these two eyes, never realizing the fact that you have three eyes. And if you're relying on these two, you will always be at war with yourself because you're falling for the mirror. That's as deep as these two eyes are able to see, is surface level on the mirror, what's appearing on the mirror and nothing more. But once you start becoming aware that you have three eyes, and this is the third one, now you're able to begin to pierce that veil that you call the mirror and see beyond it. And see through all these characters that are hindering you from realizing the actuality of who you are. Not just a birth name, not just as one being, as one person. The entire individual that we're each pretending to be is a dream. Why? Because we've never been separate to ourselves, to the entirety. We are God. God is one. We are one. We are one with everything. But the reason we have the ego is to know this from that, you from me. Separation is introduced so that we can know our chaotic nature, so we can know our limitlessness. But there has to be an established limitation, an established limit, before we're able to see beyond into the limitlessness of our being. So falling for the veil, falling for the ego, the illusion is natural. It's a part of it. It's supposed to happen. It's the only way you would know infinity. If you were birthed out assuming to be infinity or already as infinity, you would never experience separation a day in your life. You would never know anything otherwise, which is what we consider the highest state of being. So understand, both serve a purpose. The ego serves a purpose, but the ego death also serves a purpose. Some are obviously, we're all doing different things. Some people want to remain in the ego. Some people are having fun with the ego. Some people are playing with the ego. Again, no right or wrong. But then there are people like me who once suffered through this ego more than they were getting joy. We suffered more through this ego and our questions, and it wasn't allowing us to enjoy, to play, to live. And so the only option for me was not going deeper into the ego and ego death. But again, no right or wrong. But it is in experiencing an ego death that you experience the ending of all separation. This is ultimately what an awakening is doing. When you have lost all your loved ones, your family, your friends, everyone you love in this life form, in this lifetime, when you lose them in your egoic death, it's natural, it's a part of it, because these are all links reinforcing the very idea that you are this separate entity you're calling Tyler. And who does the title mother, father, brother belong to? It belongs to Tyler. So before Tyler can experience the death of himself, I must experience the death of all these pieces that made me convince myself I am separate to them. So when I lose my mother, father, brother, sister, friends, aunts, uncles, whoever, any title, in losing the person and the title, you are shedding that piece of separation. The title, father, brother, whatever the title is, separates you from realizing you're already the same consciousness. So you lose the title, mother. And then the image appears before you because the image is what you associate with the title, mother. When you say mother, you will picture your mother. You have an image assigned to her. So in an ego death, this is what you are facing. You are facing the ending of separation, the ending of the title and the being that you attach to that title. They're not actually dying. You have to experience the ending of them as you know it, so that the final chapter can bring you back to yourself. Now that you've seen beyond all these titles of people you thought were different to you, you know that your mother and father were you the whole time. Brother and sister, you the whole time. All of my friends and coworkers along this journey were me the whole time. And so now that I know this, now that I've accepted this, there's only one final piece to mourn left. And it's my own title. Tyler is my title. Tyler is my title, and this is my image that I associate with Tyler. So what do you think happens next? Now that I know all of my family and friends and every person I've ever experienced is myself, now it's time to lose Tyler, the name, the image, and everything that I have associated with Tyler. At last arriving at death. Now, when you are mourning the loss of yourself, the ego, now you have died. Once you start crying and mourning the idea of yourself, you have died. But you haven't actually rebirthed just yet. The rebirthing part isn't actually physical. It's a mental rebirthing. You're losing a piece of yourself to find a part of yourself that you never even knew existed. And it's this part of yourself that you never knew that is not birthing or dying. This is where you are familiar with yourself beyond the illusion of beginning and end. Again, death is the end of separation. Beginning and end is only a confined point, or confined, space of 2 points. And this is what we identify ourselves with. But the actuality is nothing has actually began and nothing has actually ended. Nothing will actually end. The only thing that we face in death as the end is the idea of us being separate. And this goes for people, relationships, places, the world. Everything merges back to your consciousness to where you realize you have never been separate to the people, places, and things that you have been experiencing here this whole time. And note, when we're facing death and we've mourned the loss of our family, of our loved ones, and it's time to say goodbye to ourselves, when we've finally reached ourselves, and even in plant medicine, even on DMT, this is the moment where you see people starting to scream, reject, fight, resist. No, 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 no. They're fighting to hold on a minute longer because immediate danger is here. You've had your comfortable routine throughout your daily life, all that, but death comes knocking on your door so abruptly you have no time to plan. You have no more seconds to prolong. It is so abrupt that you have no choice but to let go. But you will see people fighting, resisting, screaming, no, rejecting. But it's natural. It's natural for this to happen. So again, don't be hard on yourself. I have people all the time that are like, I couldn't quite make it there. I couldn't quite let go. I just couldn't accept or let go, whatever the case may be. Understand what you're attempting to accept or let go of is the most difficult task known to mankind. So you're not just taking on some easy feat. So just don't be hard on yourself if you're not quite getting it. It does happen in a very immediate moment. It will hit you so hard, and you will just immediately understand and share the greatest laugh with yourself that you have ever known. And what's behind that laughter is understanding. The reason you can't help but laugh is because you once took birthing and dying as real physical phenomenons happening. And once you have actually died, you laugh so hard because you're like, how? How did I ever mistake birthing and dying as real things, real events? How did I ever fall for this? And it's funny because you are brought to such a level of understanding that it completely shatters you and the idea of who you are. Exactly. You're biologically programmed to not let go. Your body's natural response is to survive, is to fight just a little longer. Right? So exactly. Thank you for that. It's biologically programmed in your body to fight to survive. Every vein in your body, every blood vessel, there's fighting to survive for you. I just saw something fly across the camera. Yeah, it's clearly dust particles. There's no ghosts here, people. It's just dust particles. All right. Let me see. How do you finally let go, or is it an ongoing experience? So here's the irony of it. How do you finally let go? The ego hates the answer. But the you that's attempting to let go doesn't actually exist, is the simplest way to put it. The you that's trying to understand, that's trying to reach out and catch it, or understand it, or make it there. I don't know how else to word it. But the you that's trying to do something, that's trying to remember something, doesn't exist. That, acknowledging that, is the fastest way to let go. Ask yourself, who within me is trying to let go, and what are we letting go of? This is where you're going to start finding it humorous. What am I trying to let go of? Because ultimately, the ego is an illusory entity. It doesn't actually exist. That is what you are realizing. When you awaken, you're realizing the fact that no one is awakening within you. Tyler's not awakening from the dream. Tyler's awakening to the fact that Tyler has never existed. Tyler has never existed. Tyler is the dream. Separation, the individual, is the dream. So people ask me, how do you make these videos? Do you prepare yourself before doing these videos? Like, what do you do? There's no doing required when making these videos. You'll see some people sit in meditative positions for 20 minutes and then go live, or they'll light an incense and then fill the smoke first, or we'll put a crystal, or we'll do something. But ultimately, we're selling the idea that by doing this, now the divine is flowing through us. Now we're speaking through the divine because we have that crystal, we've meditated, or we've done something to produce the divine experience. Now we can speak from the divine. And that's where I think some people ask me, like, do you prepare for these videos? How do you prepare? Because there's no preparation that goes into them. 100% freestyled, and that's just it. How do you know what you know? I know nothing. It's the easiest philosophy to know. I know nothing. It's so simple. It's so easy. The ego rejects it. The ego needs something complex. The ego needs a sophisticated answer, which is why I warn people too. The mind is a very tricky entity. So careful not to answer the wrong questions, because once you answer one question, you birth out 5 more. Because we are identifying ourselves with the question and produced answer. But you come before question and answer. So the only question we should be asking is, who am I? All other questions are coming from the sourced ego. How to let go. This isn't the ego's mission. Only the ego can achieve this, but you cannot. What you're attempting to let go of, you already are right now, in this moment. The only thing we need to let go of is the obstacle of doing something to get there. All we must do is realize right here, you're already there. And you can never not be. So even when it's our life's mission to make it there, wherever it is, wherever there is. The irony is you are there the entire time. The only thing keeping us from realizing this is the egoic mind, creating question and answer, creating the mission of getting there. We're in such a mission to get there, we're not stopping to realize we already are there. And this is the same with chakra systems. I don't subscribe to the chakra system because, for one, you're creating blockages where there aren't any. And two, what happens when you reach the crown chakra? What happens when all the chakras are aligned, you're in the crown space? Now what? It sounds good, and it sounds good to get there, or for it to be a mission to get there, to align them all, to achieve this. What's next? What outcome did we produce by doing that we aren't already now? This whole mission of opening the third eye, we're attempting to do something that can't actually be done. But as I've told people, go on YouTube right now and type in how to open the third eye. The people that have millions of views are the only people giving people instructions on how to do this. There is no opening the third eye. There's simply understanding what you are seeing with and acknowledging But this is where we must be very tricky, because spirituality is surpassing religious superstitions. And at least when I first entered the spiritual community several years back, they looked down on religions. They looked down on people who went to church. They looked down upon people who believed God was a man in the sky. Yet, fast forward to today, the spiritual community has become its own form of religion. People don't like that I'm so blunt about it, but there has to be a page where people are not selling the truth. Because if you're being honest with yourself, 100% honest, the same energy you're filling into that crystal from the moon or wherever is the same energy religious folks are putting into the churches. The church is the holy place because religious folks project an energy into it. They project something into it. In the same way, you're projecting something into the crystal, into the rock. They're one and the same. And spirituality has even gone a step further with superstitions. Again, opening the third eye. All these various missions and tasks, practices, which can never be achieved. But unfortunately, we have people every day trying to achieve them, running themselves insane. It'll never happen. Not in the fashion of doing. My phone's just about to die, so I'm just going to end this video before it does, because the last time my phone died while I was live, it was a train wreck trying to get the video back, so I'm going to end this live. I'll be live again tomorrow, most likely. So, one love. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Charlie, for the 2 donations on here. Again, you can donate on Cash App. My Cash App is in the description. And thank you, everyone, for the words of encouragement during this tough time. It's greatly appreciated, greatly needed. And again, I appreciate every one of you on here, man. You guys have been overwhelmingly supportive during this time, and I cannot thank you enough. Truly. Thank you. Everyone have a good day, and I'll see you tomorrow.